Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Jack Luck, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Thank you, sir.
It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. You're looking good.
Well, I try to stay active and retired, but doing a lot of different things to keep going.
I understand you may have turned a birthday that ends in a 0 recently.
Yes, and it wasn't 50. It was 80.
80. You're looking good for 80.
I didn't know it was on Facebook.
Well, I'm happy you know what Facebook is. I'm pretty sure my dad doesn't know what it is.
Oh, I can punch a certain button and I can see it, but I've never sent anything on Facebook, so
You're probably better off.
Thank you.
Well, you were born in Richmond, but basically have lived in Ashland most of your life.
Yes,
right?
I was. After 3 or 4 days, you come home to Ashland from a hospital in Richmond, and I don't remember which hospital it was, but of course my mother would know.
And your family roots go back a long, long ways.
Yes, yeah. I would go back to my grandfather, who started with the livery stable and went into automobiles, and then it's been in the family for a long time, and of course Ross and Eddie Stiles are there now running their things, and I've gotten out. They let me keep an office down there and my computer down there. So if I want to send an email to somebody, I go down and use my computer at the office because I'm more used to it. But
we keep his office in a museum quality state.
Well, we're going to talk about Luck Chevrolet here in a little bit, but it was founded in 1960, so we can talk about it. It goes back that far.
Yeah.
What was the first car, or what were the first cars like that Luck Chevrolet sold? Do you know?
Probably Ross keeps on top of it a lot more than I did or I do. But.
The first dealership was a horse and buggy stable in 1905. His grandfather came to Ashland, or knew Ashland, from bringing livestock.
Really?
Up 301. He was in Caroline. The original family was in Caroline, and then they knew Ashland from bringing livestock up 301 to 54 to Ashland.
Oh, wow.
To trade and sell, and then they saw the need for the livery stable in Ashland to board your horses and to rent out horses and buggies for transportation. And then, so 1916 was the first year they started selling Chevrolets, or James N. Luck started selling Chevrolets.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so 1916, I guess they had, 2 models back then?
maybe one.
Yeah.
Very cool. So when you were a little kid, football was big in your life. You played through school all the way through college. What else did you do when you were a kid?
Well, one thing, I was brought up that our house was right at the intersection of where the interchange is for Ashland Interchange exit.
Off of 95.
Off of 95. And where Telcourt, where we moved in 1960, I only lived there for 4 years because got married in 64 and then we went off on our own. But so I was living at the called the Woolfolk House because the Woolfolks had it before we did. But it was a pretty good sized farm. It had 190 acres, and we had cattle and had a family that lived there on the place that kind of ran things. Raymond Tate was his name, and I've stayed in touch with the Tates over all the years because Raymond's died and his wife died, and they had a boy. His name was Douglas, and he was about my brother's age and my age. So we played a lot together, but. And we worked on the farm. We didn't make a living from the farm, but it was just sort of like a hobby for him. And we got up hay, and he raised corn and had Black Angus cattle. And I can always remember we had horses of some kind to ride, and we were riding a lot. And that was in the country. Right now, it's mass blacktop everywhere.
Right.
We had it was, I think, a lot of advantages to being raised on a farm. you appreciate what you see and what you got.
When you worked for a lot of things too.
Yes, we did. I mean, I can remember one time getting up hay. My brother, he was probably 13, 14. I was 2 years younger, and we were out in the field with the tractor hooked up to the trailer, flatbed trailer, and we were getting up hay. And I don't know how it happened, but we got our sister up there to drive the tractor, and she's 5 years younger than I am. And that didn't go on. But it's just you're going straight down about 5 miles an hour. I told Barbara, I said, now, if you see a hay bale up there, you got to turn to the left a little bit. And my mother came out there and saw what was going on, and she just went to pieces. So we didn't do that again.
How old was Barbara at the time?
I guess she was 8 or 9. But that was just some of the things that went on.
So bales of hay, that's grown man stuff, and you were doing that as a kid.
Yeah. It was, sometimes if it was the type of hay, if it was straw, it was real light and you could handle it yourself. But it was alfalfa. You had two people, two of us had to pick it up and put it on there. And I don't know why, it was just Jimmy and myself out there, and then Barbara came. But it wasn't usually that way. Raymond was usually there running things, and if we had a big harvest of something, somebody from the dealership, it wouldn't be mechanics, but one of the guys that washed cars or something would come out and help us. James Catlett, for one, he was always out there helping, doing things.
Did you play any other sports besides football when you were a kid? What else did you play?
Played all of them. Well, I got my athletic ability from my father. He went to a prep school in Winchester. It was called Shenandoah Valley Academy. And it was a military school, and he was captain of all three sports, football, basketball, and baseball. And then he played semi-pro baseball when he never went to college, but he played semi-pro ball, and that's how he met my mother in Lawrenceville, Virginia. The baseball team had gone down there to play, and somehow, I don't know how they hooked up, but they got hooked up, and then they got married. So that's it. All right, Ross, you say something.
All right, well, hold on. You said you played all of them. Back then it was football, basketball, baseball. There wasn't a fourth sport, was there?
No, I mean, you could play tennis. You go over to college and just play tennis, but it wasn't a team that you were on.
Right.
No soccer, no lacrosse. Yeah. Did they have lacrosse?
No, not here. But we had one gentleman, Mac Barrett was his name. He was, I think he was a 7th grade school teacher, but he was our coach on everything. And he was a great guy and helped us a lot. And but I never kept up with the other two sports, but after RMA, that's where I went to high school. And my brother and I went up there. My father, I think, thought we needed a little structure, so he sent us up there. His reason we ended up at RMA was that his college roommate's son went to RMA because SVA, Shenandoah Valley Academy, had closed. So that's how we heard about it. But it's part of the Methodist system. Randolph-Macon Women's College, Randolph-Macon Academy, Randolph-Macon College, and I think Ferrum was part of that for one time. But so we did that.
Was that starting in 9th grade?
I actually started in 8th grade. Had 8th grade and then 9, 10, 11, and 12. And one reason we went up there was because there was no 8th grade here at Henry Clay. You went from the 7th grade to 9th grade, 7th grade to freshman in high school, and I think he thought we needed an extra year maybe to do that. And it was a lot of kids came up there, PG we called them, postgraduates. They had graduated from their high school back home, and they came up there for 1 year of development physically or academically, and they were good ball players. We had some good ball players come through there.
It sounds like your dad had an assessment that the structure would be good for you. Did you agree with your dad's assessment?
No, of course. But thinking back, it was perfect. I needed it, and I got it. and I did well for my 5 years there.
It's I did not know that they did not have an 8th grade
Here,
back in.
Nope.
So freshman year, that wasn't also considered 9th grade. That was just freshman.
freshman year, yeah. Shearer, my wife, who we went through school together the whole year, she went from 7th grade to freshman high school, so she was ahead of me 1 year in school, and I'm but a year older than she is, but that was what it was. And not long, I think her class was the last one that it wasn't no 8th grade. It was of course when they switched over to Patrick Henry, I think that's when they went to the middle school, which entailed with 8th grade.
Then were Nene and Bob, my grandparents from mom's side, were they still teaching at Henry Clay?
Yeah, he was. I'm not sure about Nene, but Bob was assistant principal under Mr. Compton there for a while. But then they both moved to Chesterfield schools, and they moved to Chesterfield to live. But they were in the academic world, all of them. And on weekends, he had choirs at churches, different churches, and you don't make a whole lot of money teaching school, but he
Right.
did that for extra money. He had the Glee Club for a while over at Randolph-Macon College.
Tell them the story about how many generations of Troxels were teaching the Glee Club.
Well, my father-in-law, then his brother was in Chesterfield County Henrico County, I think, as the director of music for the county, and then my father-in-law was director of music for Chesterfield County, and then Shearer's grandfather, which would have been my father-in-law's father, he was in music too. So I mean, they were very musically inclined, and Mark Troxel was Bill's brother, and they had a sister, and I think they called her Nene, and just like Nene, but she sang with a band somewhere up in the D.C. area for years and years and years.
But my grandfather, his brother, and their father all directed the Glee Club at Randolph-Macon.
Wow.
Different.
And they
times.
did a reunion. Do you know what year? 1990? Is that right?
I have no idea.
In the 90s, I think, and they brought them all back.
Oh wow.
It was some anniversary or some expose of the Glee Club, and they brought them all back and there's my, I guess at the time he was probably 92-year-old great grandfather with the stick and
Just going.
going like you remembered doing.
Is your wife musical?
Yeah, she was in a combo at Randolph-Macon College when she was attending up there, and they had a combo, and they played different places. It wasn't anything big time, of course, but she played the trumpet, and I think there were 5 or 6 of them in it, and she's a whole lot more musically inclined than I am.
So how old were you when you first played football?
Paul, I got no idea. Probably 8 or 9 or 10. We had a little league team, and we'd play. I remember playing Gunner Park and teams out in the West End. I don't know what they went by, but so it was 8, 9, 10. But the kids, we just had one team, and it wasn't an age limit. I mean, you could be 8 years old and you could be 12 years old, but you'd play on that one team.
Oh.
So, but we did all right with it, I guess.
Well, when Ross and I were coming up, and I need to mention that Ross is here, your oldest son, and your oldest kid, period. When we were coming up, it was the Vikings. Do you remember the mascot when you were playing in that league?
No, don't remember what we were called, other than Ashland.
So you played Little League all the way up to 7th grade.
Yeah, and then
went to RMA.
When I got to RMA, they had 4 football teams: mite, midget, JV, and varsity. I mean, they had enough kids to, guys to do that. It's co-ed now, just like Randolph-Macon College is co-ed, but it wasn't co-ed when I went up there. And like I said, varsity-wise, we had some good teams. We had, my senior year, we had one guy get a scholarship to Auburn, one got a scholarship to Syracuse, one got a scholarship to Marshall, one got a scholarship to VMI, I mean, some pretty good players up there to do that. And,
Were they recruiting kids to come there?
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, they let it be known, come here for that 1 year of postgraduate and develop your skills more. And so we had a pretty good time. But I was up there for 5 years and came on up through it.
Did you get recruited by anybody other than Randolph-Macon?
Yeah, got recruited by Hampton-Sydney real strong, and I almost went there.
Uh-oh.
I didn't. They were between coaches. They and I forget the coach that had just left, but Stokely Fulton was the assistant coach, I believe, and he and the athletic director wrote me several letters and tried to recruit me. I never went there on a visit, but I was, satisfied with Randolph-Macon College, and that was back when you could still get scholarships other than academic for athletics, and I had gotten a scholarship. I think it cost me maybe $50 or $100 per semester to go to school there, but I don't regret it. I think I really made the right choice. It's a great school.
Were you recruited to play football at RMA?
No, because I went up in the 8th grade.
Yeah, they didn't really know.
I went mite, midget, JV. I played varsity for 2 years, I remember, and was co-captain my senior year. And we had a good team. We were 5-3, and then in basketball we were like 15-1. In baseball we were 15-1. So had lost 5 games in 3 sports for the whole year, which it just indicates what kind of quality we had.
Really good. What position did you play in baseball?
Outfield.
Outfield, because you were fast and you
I was not fast. I can tell you that. My nickname was Ice Wagon. Ice Wagon's been the slowest, that would selling ice and going down the road behind a horse cart.
I thought it was Yogi.
Well, no, that was in college.
Ice.
And Ross, did you not heard that nickname before?
I am, because if I had, my brother and I would have probably
jumped all over that one.
we would have run with that for all it's worth.
Well, now Ice Wagon's come out tonight, so there it is.
Yeah, for the world to hear.
But this was back when you played both ways, offense and defense, and then no, defensive team, then the offensive team comes in. You played every down, and that suited me fine.
Well, let's go back to baseball. Then we're going to spend a lot of time talking about football. Playing outfield, were you a power hitter? Or were
no, I was a pretty good hitter, a pretty good player. I was captain of the team too, so I must have been pretty good, I reckon. But I can't, it doesn't stick out in my mind like football did. You did that to get away from school. I mean, you could go to the away games and you'd eat out and you'd do this and you'd do that, and that was about the only way you could get away from school, was being on a team and travel a little bit. But we played schools like Episcopal High School in Alexandria and St. Christopher's and Collegiate, and didn't play Benedictine. Virginia Episcopal School in Lynchburg.
You traveled a lot.
Yeah. All right.
So hold on. Ice Wagon, did that come up in football or did that come up in basketball or baseball?
Probably came up in all of them. It was probably more in football. My best position was linebacker, but I played fullback. But in that way, I never broke through for any long runs, I can tell you. But I was pretty good at 3 or 4 yards, I guess.
Yeah, 3 to 5 yards in a cloud of dust.
That's right.
So football was your favorite?
Yes.
What did you like about football?
I don't know. I just, you talk to me and you say, he's a nice, calm person and, gentle, easygoing guy. But when I got on the football field, I was completely opposite, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't know why, but maybe it was a competition, what it was, but I really got worked up. I wanted to hit somebody on every play. I don't care whether they had the ball or not. And that mentality wasn't good.
Perfect segue.
Because later on in life, I had my neck fused twice because of football. I had a knee replacement because of football. So, like I said, that mentality was not the best.
Well, Ross may have mentioned to me earlier today that you and a referee may have come in contact with each other. Can you tell me that story?
Like I said, I was looking to hit somebody on every play, whether they had the ball or not, and the play is right in front of me, and I wasn't going to make the tackle. I could see, but I could see somebody coming from my peripheral vision over here, so I turned around and unloaded on him, and it was one of the officials. And he grabs his flag, and he goes to throw it. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you weren't a player. And I didn't.
Did he throw the flag?
No, he didn't throw the flag. He felt
held
sorry.
on to it. I mean, he didn't have any equipment on. You probably
right.
caused some pain. Oh, man. Middle linebacker and fullback.
Fullback.
You're in contact on every play just about.
Yep.
And you loved every minute of it.
I did, and if they had the rules then that they have now about targeting, I wouldn't have made 10 minutes of it.
I was going to say third play, you're probably out.
That's right. So, but that's things have changed. There's no question about it.
Describe the equipment back then, and I'm not trying to be funny. Ross and I played in high school back in the 80s. Like, the equipment wasn't great back then, but it had to be better than what you played with.
When I first went to Randolph-Macon College, we had leather helmets, and the first year I was there, they went into the plastic helmets, the suspension helmets, I think they called it. And maybe the first year, they were 50-50, 50% plastic, 50% leather. But after the next year, it was all plastic suspension helmets and good.
So you played without a face mask?
No, we had face masks.
Well, what does a leather helmet face mask look like?
Just like on the suspension helmets, the plastic helmets, the same type, come around. And, but it's no question about what was the best. That was for sure. And
right.
One of my grandchildren said to me one time, said, J-Pod, did they have helmets when you played? And I said, yeah. The shoulder pads now look like they don't have a piece of cardboard up there, but I know they're great in the technology of them. But
right.
We had pretty good sized shoulder pads, and of course knee pads and thigh pads and hip pads and all that.
Well, yeah, and then a lot of players don't even wear knee pads or hip pads.
No, they look like they got on Bermuda shorts out there on the field.
Right, they don't cover their knees up.
No.
Even with their pants, yeah.
It's different. Sizes, the kids are faster, they're bigger. It's really scary.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine hitting one of those guys. Middle linebacker today, and some of those guys are running so fast, and they're bench pressing who knows what and squatting who knows what. Did you like offense or defense more?
I like defense more because I could do the hitting.
Yeah, because when you're running the ball, everybody's trying to hit you.
That's right, but that's all right.
Do you remember how many touchdowns you scored at Randolph-Macon College?
No, I really don't. I didn't keep up with it.
I bet somebody did. I bet the record's there somewhere. Got to be, I would think.
Probably in Grand's book. She has that big.
Yeah, my mother kept a kind of a scrapbook, and Shearer, my wife, contributed to it, and I don't know where it is now.
It's at my house.
Oh.
We should have brought that along.
That's right.
Tonight. What do you remember about college besides football at Randolph-Macon?
Fraternity.
Which fraternity were you at?
Lambda Chi Alpha.
Okay.
Lambda Chi's have been banned from the campus. Been that way for 12, 13, 14 years. What you're hearing in Richmond about the hazing and drinking, basically that's what one of the kids, after this wasn't when I was there, it was much later, and had a problem with alcohol, and had to rush him to the hospital. And so it's been ongoing, the brothers, and we had a great fraternity. I think we had 5 Phi Beta Kappas my senior year.
Wow.
Captains in 3 or 4 sports. It was a well-rounded, I'm biased, of course, but it was real well-rounded fraternity. We had brainy kids and we had athletes, but that and of course you got your academics too. I was a history major, and I like history, and that's one reason I went into it. But
Did you always know you were going to go into the car business?
no, when I graduated from college, I went to work for, it was called the Bank of Virginia back then, in the management training program, and it lasted about 6 months, I guess. I could see the handwriting on the wall. You know, if you weren't from UVA, some of the elite schools. No, that wasn't it. But I just decided. My uncle Joe Stiles approached me. He says, come on back up here. I got a place for you, and let you get some stock, and we do this. And so I did that, and don't regret it. It's hard work. It's a lot of work, but it pays off.
What do you go ahead, Ross?
He had mentioned that after the bank didn't work out, you thought you might want to get into coaching.
Well, that's exactly right. I was hoping to get into coaching out of college and coach football and teach history maybe, but we were restricted to the Richmond area because Shearer, my wife, was in physical therapy school, and she had to stay in the Richmond area, of course, to go because she went to MCV. So I didn't. I put out applications for Hanover, Henrico, and Richmond City schools, and I hadn't heard from anybody. And then I was getting a little edgy, and I was thinking, my father-in-law wants to know what am I going to do to make a living, support his daughter, and so I finally, the Bank of Virginia had Melinda Luck's husband was David Shepperson, and he worked at the Bank of Virginia, and he got after me. He says, come on down here and apply for this management training program. And so I did that, and then rest is history, I guess.
Wasn't your thing?
Wasn't my thing, no. Being inside, and it was all right meeting the people. I enjoyed that, but wasn't my thing.
What year did you graduate Randolph-Macon?
1964.
64. And so by 65, you're working for
Luck Chevrolet.
Luck Chevrolet.
Yes.
Tell me about the first few years working for Luck. What was it like?
Well, when I went to work there, it was where Hardee's is now.
Oh.
I don't know if you remember that.
I don't.
It was, my grandfather, you do this. When he first went in business, he was up there where the livery stable was over where the rescue squad is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe where he opened his first place was right across the street from the theater, right in that area. And then he moved down to Route 1. And also, he had a Esso gas station there, pumps. And, of course, Route 1 was from Maine to Florida, you went down Route 1. So it was a really busy area, if you can imagine I-95, what it is, all that traffic being on Route 1. But
that was 1930.
Yeah, all right. And then, so I can remember, we had no air conditioning, of course, and I can remember sitting there writing on a piece of paper and perspiration running off my nose, dripping on the paper, and it was different.
No air conditioning. I can't imagine no air conditioning. And no 95 until, what, the late 50s, early 60s?
Well, that's
probably.
how we got kicked out of our house. The interchange was going there, so they said, y'all got to move. And of course, they bought the place, but that was in 60.
So if you're heading 95 north from Richmond, where you get off on the Ashland exit, that loop was where the house sat.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
And the farm went pretty much north on 95 to all the way to Jamestown Road?
No, it didn't.
Almost.
No, but halfway to Jamestown Road. We could walk back through the woods and keep on going and hit Jamestown Road.
So, now, did you all own the land before Francis Road went through there to Hanover Academy?
So that belonged to us, the family. And my father sold off lots there in the Hanover Academy, but we've still got 67 acres in there north of the Academy, which one of these days might do something, I don't know, but it's all it is a big tax burden right now.
Well, hold on. So you're driving north on 95. You're getting off the Ashland exit. So you're taking the second exit.
Right.
And you're looping back towards town.
Right on your right as you looped around was where the house sat.
I've driven past where. So you grew up there?
Yes, that's where I grew up.
That's unbelievable.
190 acres there.
Still see the daffodils coming up in the springtime.
Wow.
Where my grandmother planted.
Jack, every time I get off that exit, I'm going to think of you now.
Please put your hand on your heart. My brother and I, when we were, I don't know, we were probably 6, 8, 10 years old, when we would get out there on Route 54, Hanover Courthouse Road it's called, and we'd have a wagon we'd pull behind us, and we'd pick up pop bottles out of the ditch, take them into town, and they'd give us 5 cents a bottle for doing it. I can remember doing that just to make some money.
That was a decent amount of money back then.
Yeah, it was. But I don't know what.
I think the fact that you grew up right there where that exit is blowing my mind, and the nickname Ice Wagon is blowing Ross's mind.
Well, to show you how rural it was, to the west of us was Carter's. They had a dairy farm there. Across the road from us, there was nothing there. It was just open field, and we used to ride horses over there in that open field. And it was just a rural area. Nothing was built up in there. 2 or 3 houses along there, but that was it.
And not a lot between where 95 is now and Route 1, right? It was basically all open.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow. That's how do you were you selling cars, or were you doing more of the behind the scenes stuff?
When you're at the dealership, you do everything.
You do it all.
You do it all.
Were you actually fixing cars? Do you know how to repair cars?
No, I'm not much of a mechanic.
But everything else.
Yeah, it was like a family. It was family. But the guys in the back, and we are blessed. He can tell you about it more than I can. Blessed with good, stable mechanics mostly, and it's hard to keep good workers nowadays and good help, but they've done a pretty good job of it, haven't they?
Yeah, that's one thing we've been very fortunate through all this pandemic. We haven't lost any employees.
That's unbelievable.
And we have people, and actually we just hired 2 new mechanics, one last week and then one this week.
That's unheard of, right?
Yeah, and not in our industry. It's like any service industry, contractors, electrical, plumbing, construction. You just can't find any help. So we, knock on wood, we've been very blessed from the history. Visiting over on Route 1 at College Avenue, visiting up at where we are now, Route 1 in Ashcake. Moved there in 1970, built that place, and then I can remember mechanics being, everybody. We've pretty much been fully staffed throughout our history.
I don't think any other car company or any other enterprise or business can say that.
We've had some dips here and there, but for the most part, we've had some really solid employees.
Especially in the management, back in the service department. It's just Ed Ayers, James Mask, they've been with 25, 30 years.
40. I think Ed might be going on 40.
It's unbelievable, but
it's a real family atmosphere. Sounds like y'all take care of each other.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. But you are fully retired now.
Fully retired.
All right.
It'll be 3 years in April. And they really miss me. They were glad to see me go.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
No.
All right, Ross, were you born in 68?
67.
67. All right, so you're about a year older than I am. All right, so when you and your wife started having a family, well, talk to me about your wife and your children. Start with him.
Ross, you talk. Well, I've been running my mouth the whole time.
You're the pater familia.
You are the patriarch.
I am the oldest of four. I'll start there.
You can start with Kemp if you want.
That's right.
You want Ross and me to talk about something else?
No.
We'll come back to the family.
All right.
All right, what do you want to know?
Wait.
4 kids.
All right,
Got 7 grandchildren.
I grew up on Francis Road until I was 2, right?
Right.
So they had a house, one of those houses on Francis Road is relatively new back then on the way to
Well, the first
Hanover
house that
Academy.
after we got married and moved out of Richmond, first house we lived in, we moved what is that station, Sunoco?
it used to be Amico, but yeah.
Right there at the interchange on the northeast corner.
Right.
That's where this brick house sat. And my father was going to sell it to some developer or something, and then we'll tear the house down. And I looked into moving it, and I did. Now all I had to do was go back across the field. Didn't have to take it out on the highway at all because it was one vacant lot that I bought from my father on that road to Hanover Academy, and that's where they set the house, and that's where Ross was born. And then after Ross came along, we had Andy came along, and we figured we needed a bigger house, and we did. And Steve Luck and Murray Luck lived on Mount Herman Road, and Chip Ray, you don't know who Chip Ray is, but Dr. Ray's son, he was in real estate business, and Steve Luck died, and Mary it was too much for her, so she wanted to move into town, and Chip Ray called me and wanted to know if I was interested, and I said, man, I can't afford that thing. And but we worked out, and we did, and we've been there since '68, I think.
Same house you're in now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we've added to it and done this and done that, but almost ready to downsize now. But I still enjoy getting out and working in the yard and things like that.
Well, so 3 of your 4 kids, that they spent their entire childhood.
Yes, that's
in
their
that
home.
house.
Yes.
Pretty well, yeah, since I was
Except,
2.
yeah.
Entire.
Right on. All right. So Ross, the oldest. Andy came next.
Then Mary Chris, and then Kemp.
Right on. What are they up to these days? I think we know what Ross is doing. Ross is a historian for Luck Chevrolet.
Andy's in Oregon. He does social work of some type. What is it, Ross?
It screens for disability. The county next to him, he's helping folks out. Really enjoys it. He taught for a while. He was a teacher.
Like for 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
Special ed teacher.
And he got.
It was yeah. He started when he first started out special ed. Then he went to a private school where they looped with their class. So it went from first grade all the way to 6th, I think, and then looped back down to first grade.
Oh wow!
And he after his first loop experience, like, wow, I got to teach you little kids.
That's a
again.
shock to the
It's like,
system. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell him how he got out to Oregon.
Rode his bicycle.
Oh, I remember. and he stayed.
He stayed. Yeah, well, he knew he was going to stay, and his girlfriend rode with him. The
Not
two
his
of
current
them.
wife.
That is, yeah, that did it though. I think that trip out there, they didn't get married. He married a local girl from Oregon, and we've got one granddaughter that goes to the University of Oregon. And I tell you, my grandkids are the smartest ones that ever walked this earth. They're unbelievable. That's Andy. Mary Chris is here in town. She works for Markel, and her husband works for Hamilton Beach. They live west of town. And then Kemp is the youngest one. She lives in Sterling, Virginia. And her husband works for the government, like everybody else up there, I guess. But that's what we do. We got, like I said, 7 grandchildren.
So Ross gave you 3 grandkids.
Ross, 2 of his oldest have graduated. Peyton is getting his master's. Carla got her. She get her master's.
Mm-hmm.
And she's teaching down there in Guilford County,
In North Carolina.
North Carolina. We're hoping she's going to want to come back up here and teach, but we'll see.
And then his youngest is like
Davis.
the man.
Well, we've been following him for a long time, and he's a great volleyball player, great person. We just enjoy being around him and watching him play, and look forward to seeing him at Randolph-Macon. I didn't push Randolph-Macon on him at all. I just let him make his own decision. But once he decided, I let him know how happy I was.
Who was more excited, you or Barkley?
Or it had to be Barkley. Had to be Barkley. Oh, that's funny. All right, so Andy has a daughter at University of Oregon, and then Mary Chris
has got one son, Jack. John Moore is his name. Jack's father lives in Harrisonburg, and it's his stepfather that lives here in Ashland, married to Mary Chris, Chuck. And Kemp has got two daughters. One is started running cross country. She's a freshman in college, freshman in high school at Potomac Falls, and she was running cross country this fall, but she had some problem with her foot or something. She can't run. She wasn't running during the winter season, but and they're creative. They're good kids.
How many instruments does Emma play?
Oh, my
Andy's
Lord.
daughter.
The musical part of the family comes true here. She can play, 5 or 6 different instruments. It's unbelievable. She can hear a tune and go sit down on the piano and play it without knowing the music in front of her. And she's going to get her degree in music of some type. I'm not sure, but she's the only child. And
You go to every single Randolph-Macon home football game, even now?
Well,
he's required to be there.
For 35 years, we've kept the chains.
Oh, really? I knew Rob kept the chains. You're on the chain gang, too?
With
Eddie Stiles.
Eddie, Andy, Rob Dupriest, and a guy that lives up in Caroline named Pig. We've been doing it for 30.
Melton.
Eddie and I have been doing it for 35 years, and we've had some people come and others drop off. But it's a Kiwanis project. The college pays the Kiwanis Club X number of dollars a year for I partaking of the chains. So it's a project, a Kiwanis project that we've been doing for a long time. And
so if you ever want to know what the other team is really like, because that's where they're set up.
Oh, yeah.
On the visitor
the chain's always on the visiting side.
Dad, what happened during this play? Oh, that coach was mad. I heard him cussing up a storm.
You really can pick up what type of school it is.
Yeah. What kind of program they run.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who was it that told me, and I guess, sorry for this one, but who is it that told me some of the worst language they ever heard was from the priest that was on the Catholic University?
Oh, wow.
It's like, who
would think that? Yeah.
That's right.
But, so you're still doing the chains?
So far, yeah, Paul, we're still doing it. It's real funny. You meet with the head linesman. They have 2 head linemen. One works on this side of the field in the first half, and then they switch. And our head lineman for the first half, he'll come over and talk to us and say, "Y'all know all the rules, this and that." And now they come over and just says, "No, y'all know more than we do, probably."
Y'all started doing this when I was in elementary school. Yeah.
Well, not on the field that we are now. The old football field that ran east and west. This runs north and south, but over in that same area.
Can you believe the football field they got now?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it's great. We got a coach that he's just. I don't know if you've ever met him, Paul.
He's been on this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to tune that in and check out the interview with Pedro.
Okay, Pedro is a great guy and a great coach, and he's just a big asset for the college. I can tell you. I know he doesn't rub everybody the same way, but I'm telling you, the kids love him.
He's been there a long time too. 17
years. As
yeah,
I was on the board of trustees when we hired him, and I was appointed one of 4 or 5 to interview the applicants. And we narrowed it down to 5 and asked them to come see us in person because we had read all the resumes and all that. And I remember when he came and somebody picked him up. He was from Washington University at St. Louis, which is a well-known school.
Very good academically.
Yeah. And he flew in. Somebody went and picked him up. I don't know who it was. And then we met with him the next morning. And I said, did you get in all right and everything happened? He said, yeah. But I had to get up this morning and run my 5 miles. Here he is interviewing for a job, and he's concentrating on running 5 miles that morning. And I said, man, this guy's a worker. He was, I think, the national assistant coach of the year before we hired him. So I'm proud of myself for being part of the people that got him in. And I'm sure that he's been offered different positions from time to time because of his record and all that, but I think he really likes it here.
I think he loves it.
Yes.
He's raising his family here.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's right. And his son's playing for him now. You know that?
I did know that. Yeah.
Yep. And he's got great Kara as his wife, and they all part of the community. And I think when Pedro was coming up, he didn't have much of a father figure. And then when he went away to college, his coach became a father figure to him, and that's exactly the way he is with his players. He's a father figure to them. And,
It's a family.
It's a family. He doesn't encourage them to join fraternities because the football team is a fraternity,
right,
as far as they go. And listen, I was out there 10 days ago, 6:30 in the morning. I like to walk a lot, and I go over to the college and walk around the field on the path. And they're out there. The football team is out there, 6:30 in the morning. I think it was 28 degrees. He's out there with them, and they're doing, stretching exercises and this, and just things to keep going. And if you think, Division III football and Division I football, and think there's a big difference when it comes to staying in shape and doing this and doing that. It's not a lot of difference, I can tell you.
Yeah, the way he described his program and what they're doing during season, off season, they are committed. They are dedicated to it.
Yes, and kids will come back and talk to him 10, 15 years, that after getting out of school, and just come in and sit in the office for 30 minutes and talk to him. And he prides himself on that, and he should.
He loves staying in touch with them.
Yes,
Yeah.
He does. I mean, he's just a special guy. But the athletics in general over there, and I'm bragging a little bit, but they're great. They've done well in everything, especially football, basketball, and baseball. Right now, baseball went to World Series a couple times, 2 or 3 years ago, and basketball's #1 in the country right now, and football was 9-1 over the last year, undefeated that shortened pandemic year of 5-0. But it's good. Good women's volleyball, men's volleyball with Davis coming in, softball with Kevin Profit coaching. It's
been ranked probably the last 5 years.
I mean, you have to have commitment from the whole school to do well athletically. And so it sounds like everybody's all in.
Yes, exactly. And I said something, I was at a meeting somewhere, and I said, athletics are really in good shape. And I said, we got one person to probably thank for all that, and it's Jeff Burns, the athletic director, because, and that's right. He's a good one. Yeah.
And Bob Lindgren supports Jeff, and the president they haven't always got the support. The athletic department hadn't always got the support that they're
getting now. Yeah, it's
or deserve from the president's position. But when Bob Lindgren came in,
that's
changed.
Yeah.
But being the president of a school like Randolph-Macon, it's tough because. And we're just thinking athletics, we want the best for that and that. But you got the academic part of it you got to keep in mind that you got to keep them happy too. And that's where Bob Lindgren works it. He balances them out so well, and he's done so good.
Well, he has to worry about academics, athletics, the alumni.
Yes, exactly.
All that, yeah. And keeping Barkley happy.
Barkley's something. They better erect a statue to her when she leaves.
I always had the impression she was kind of everybody's mom.
Exactly,
when they
as she is. They come in there and they unload on her and say, Mr. Dupriest, I'm just getting homesick. I'm doing this, and Barkley gets on the phone with their parents, and she's something.
Now, Jack, you had mentioned you were on the board of trustees and you were on the chain gang at the same time. I think you're the only member of a board of trustees that actually worked the chain gang that I've ever met, anyway.
Probably. Shearer says I would pay them to let me come out there and do it.
Don't get that secret.
But it's the best seat in the house if you like football. You're right there on the line of scrimmage the whole time. And
if you love playing it and you love watching it, that's a great place to be.
Exactly.
I think you've gotten off demerit free pretty much up until the Emory and Henry game, wouldn't you say?
Do what now?
You've watched your P's and Q's on the sideline. You've remained calm. You haven't rooted too hard for the home team. Randolph-Macon was kicking Emory and Henry's butt a little bit.
How long ago was this?
This year.
Oh,
because
it was the last time they played, right?
They're going to D2.
Yeah,
they're going from D3 to D2, and telling the story what the coaches were complaining.
I don't know. They all complaining.
Well, what you told me was they were complaining that the chain gang was rooting too hard.
No,
they were rooting too hard because Macon was winning. And they thought it was an unfair advantage.
That's not an unfair advantage.
Of course, we're wearing a Randolph-Macon hat and a Randolph-Macon shirt, and they know, we're from Randolph-Macon, but it just, you get to see, like we said earlier, the type of school. And I won't say the school name, and I won't say how long ago this was. It was, like 15 years ago. The school came in and we were playing them, and the language coming from the coaches over there was atrocious. It was and they had girl trainers and managers, whatever you want to call them. And I just said, this is not right. And so I called the athletic director at the time, and I said, who's the athletic director at so-and-so? And he gave me a name, and I wrote him a letter. And I said, man, this was totally out of place. And especially you had, women over there, girls over there, and subject to all of that. And I said, I'm not a prude. I've been around, that sort of thing all my life. And come find out, next time we played them, that coach wasn't the head coach now.
Right.
It was one of the assistants, but the head coach could have put a stop to it, that's for sure. But it just shows you what kind of school it was, and to put up with something like that.
Well, once we stop recording, you can tell me which school that was.
I'll tell you that.
All right, Jack, we're going to give you a break. We're going to get more history about Luck Chevrolet from Ross. Tell us more about the history of Luck Chevrolet.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest family-owned dealership, or continuously owned by the same family dealerships in the nation. And we've just been real fortunate. We had the modern facility, as the Herald Progress put it, back in 1930. And then in 70, they moved up, or 71, they completed construction where we are now at U.S. Route 1 and Ashcake Road. And just in 2011, we did a facelift, and at the behest of GM and their facility image program, they said, y'all have had the same look since 1970. We need to spruce that up a little bit.
Come into the new century.
Joe Stiles about had a fit, and I said, well, Joe, if we do this, they'll kick in money to help pay for it. He goes, all right, tell me more. So it's when I've been so blessed to work with family every day. Go in, and for a while it was me and my dad, and then Eddie Stiles and Joe Stiles, who is my great uncle. They're related. My grandfather had two sisters, Elizabeth Luck and Mary Luck, and Elizabeth Luck married Joe Stiles. So that's how the Stiles clan is related.
Got it.
To the Lucks. So Joe was my great uncle, and came to work in 1990. And was fortunate. So it's father, son. Joe was the dealer principal. Eddie was there Eddie Stiles, his son, and then I got hired right out of college from the University of Richmond.
Let me say something.
Say something.
He was at Richmond senior year, and I said, Ross, do they come in and interview the seniors for prospective employees? He said, yeah, they do that all the time. And I said, well, are you doing that? Because he hadn't indicated that he was looking to come to Ashland. And he said, yeah, but I'm thinking that maybe I'd like to come to Luck Chevrolet. And I said, well, if that's what you want to do, that's great. I know there's a place for you here. But he says a lot of the guys that graduated the previous year were flipping hamburgers at McDonald's and places like that. They couldn't get
economy wasn't
jobs.
very good. Yeah.
That's right. And the people interviewing on campus were MCI. I guess back then it was called MCI, AT&T. They were just getting, the telecom companies were just becoming big.
Yeah.
Philip Morris, IBM. I mean, it was huge, like Fortune 500 companies. And I just didn't want to be like an employee number at some big place. I just wanted to make a difference somewhere. And so fortunately, they actually didn't have a position, the business manager position. The salesmen were doing all their paperwork and signing up customers and doing arranging financing. So that's the job I took over. I'd sold for about 6 months.
But believe me, he's an important part of the place, I can tell you.
But I remember going in, and my interview was meeting Dad. I think it was one afternoon, and he just said, "Look, here's some positives about the business. Here's some negatives, and here's what we envision you doing. We need help in this area. And we think you could do the right job." And sure enough, it's the rest is history.
Yeah.
So who's the next generation after you?
Next generation is Annie Style. Annie, it's Ann Randolph Stiles Murray.
Okay.
That's her name, and that's
Eddie's youngest, yeah.
When you're
middle child.
Clay's the youngest.
Clay's the
okay.
middle child.
Y'all saying Eddie Gray?
Eddie Gray Stiles.
Yeah.
I saw Eddie today. Yeah.
So his daughter Annie came in, and she started doing marketing, website, some sales management stuff, and Mark Garagoshin was with us. He used to work at Moore Cadillac. He was our new car sales manager, and he retired I think right 3 years ago, about the same time you did.
Yeah.
And Annie took over as our new car sales manager. So she's actually our new car sales manager. Techno whiz, ordering whiz. I mean, just...
She's all over.
Yeah. Multifaceted and just a huge asset.
Yeah.
You know? So as tradition has it, when you're the new person in line and new person working at Luck Chevrolet, you get handed all the technical stuff because it's generational.
Right,
and
right.
When I started, we had the dumb DOS green screens, and that's how we did everything. And then the internet became a thing, and I had to learn. You talk about learning on the fly. We had to.
No online courses back then.
Yeah. Well, we had a modem to send and receive all of our warranty work.
Wow.
A modem, and then all of a sudden we got a satellite, and I remember the transition.
Was it a big satellite?
And it was big as this basement,
right?
Satellite,
Huge satellite,
yeah, on the roof.
I remember that satellite,
and that's how we did our communication. And so then they had this big server that you had to align the satellite.
Wow.
So I'm like, how do you do this? They sent us instructions. So I had two of my mechanics. Mike Schick was the lead satellite mechanic, that technician.
He became a satellite technician.
On the roof. And we had this old-fashioned, it might as well have been a can and a string, with people yelling from the office where the server was outside and then up to the roof. You had to turn this thing to these two lights. It looked like something on, you know, that movie Predator where they got all those lines on this guy's armband. Yeah. It looked like that on this server.
That's wild.
And you had to get this reading that matched these lines. And so to get it, you had to adjust up and down, left and right.
How long did it take you to get lined up the first time? All day?
Not that long. As a matter of fact, the installers oriented it about where they thought it was.
Got it.
So we just had to fine tune it. Well, why they didn't let the other guys fine tune it, I have no idea.
They should have done that before they left. Yeah.
So, but that going from satellite then to internet and integrating all the different equipment, and we had this massive rack of servers for our dealer management system, and so it's been a cool learning experience.
Sure.
But
Things have really changed.
Painful there for a while, but so when I start, okay, you're new guy, young guy, yeah, you get the computer stuff. So that was trial by fire. So
that's smart though.
So now Annie's taking over that, and it's like, oh, new girl.
You're happy.
But she's
new
just
salesman.
it's way of life with her. I mean, it's nothing to it, and it's just.
And she does a lot of it through her iPad, a lot on the computer. But it's been a blessing. And her dad will be the first to tell you.
Were you there when we had that big, humongous thing to print out checks?
Yes, the line print. Yeah, I don't know what you call it.
It was probably 10 feet long. And all it did was its main.
They had started to retire that when I got there in 1990.
I think we tried to donate it to the high school, and it was so far out of date they didn't want it and didn't need it.
Oh, that's funny. All right, well, here's a fun question, and Jack, I'm giving you a little more of a break.
Good.
Ross,
Thank you.
what was it like having Jack as your dad growing up?
It was couldn't ask for a better role model. I mean, it was honest, dependable, big heart. I mean, anywhere, anything you need, any of our school activities, always there. And it was tough. The interview is tonight is great to get some of these stories, because he's very humble and doesn't talk about himself a lot. But his I remember getting some stories out of his friend Billy Wester. And when he was inducted into the Randolph-Macon Hall of Fame, Billy Wester was one of the people that talked. He kind of
he and I were co-captain that senior year.
He was center, right?
He was center, and I was, and he played both ways. He played linebacker and center, and I played fullback and linebacker.
So Billy Wester talks about
colonel, and ended up retiring as a colonel in the Marines.
Served in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
2 Purple Hearts in Vietnam.
When he was giving his dad's induction speech, or pre-speech before he came and talked, he said he remembered going to Randolph-Macon as a football player, and he thought he was big stuff. Billy did. Like, yeah, I'm a tough guy. He's like, I thought I was the cat's meow, big man on campus. And then he says this 58 Chevy pulls up, like rock and roll music blaring, and this guy in sunglasses gets out, and he said he got legs that look like tree trunks, and he's wearing some cool looking outfit, and it was Jack Luck. So those are the kind of things that I wasn't able to see. But I can tell you this: growing up, my brother and I would try our darndest. Anytime we were out cutting wood, raking leaves at my grandparents' house, messing around the yard, and inevitably somebody'd bring the football out. So we'd start running around, and Andy'd have the ball first, and I'd tackle him, and then he'd start crying. And Dad's like, don't hit him so hard, he's a little guy. So then I'd get the ball, and Andy couldn't catch me, so Dad would take me down. And Dad would get the ball. And you talk about a bull in a china shop. We were the glass. And
nobody's bringing Dad down.
He would have the football. I'm wrapped around the leg. Andy's wrapped around the leg. He's still running. Shakes us off. So we're like, we come up with a plan. All right, we're gonna do this. It's like, and Dad was like, what y'all got for me? And so he'd taunt us. And we'd come at him. He'd start running forearm shiver, stiff arm. We're laying on the ground again. Plan B.
But by the way, the name Jack Luck is a perfect football name.
Is it?
I think it is. It's one of the more solid ones.
Yeah, but it has been a treat to go in and work every day with family.
Yeah.
True family. I mean, blood family.
Yeah.
That wouldn't trade it for the world. I couldn't have asked for a better job, a better environment, a better upbringing. You and I were talking a little bit about that and how the world's gone crazy today, but some of it is parenting.
Yeah.
And some of it is how we were raised and going to not thinking about, a friend's color of their skin. They're just your friend.
Right.
They're your teammate.
That's right.
And that's parenting. That's the way we were brought up, and thankful for it every day.
Yeah.
Well, obviously we've done something right, because and Shearer and I talk about it all the time. I said, we talk about, we've got friends over here and friends over there, and they've got children, and sometimes the children are not speaking to each other, they're not speaking to the parents, and our kids just, we talk to them all the time, and it's
Right.
just natural, and we don't know how it is any other way, but there's a lot of other ways that people get pulled apart, and like I said, I guess we did something right, and they're doing something right with their children. Each of the grandchildren seem to be the same way. They get along with each other and speak to their parents. And
I will tell you one lack of communication, that the communication chain gets broken easily. So you would think that, having offices 10 feet away from each other, with your great uncle and your cousin there working, you got family news, and you'd think that we'd kind of everybody be the first to know. Well, three of these guys, my cousin, my uncle, my great uncle, and dad, would all know something, and then I'd be the last to know out of all of our family. So the whole family knows.
People that don't live in town.
People that don't live in, people in California knew.
especially with the internet.
And I'm sitting here, and it's like, wait, what's just happening, or what are we doing? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, didn't your mother tell you? Like, no. It's like, why didn't you tell me? I see you every day.
Right. I'm around you
And
all
then
the
so
time.
I called my mom. I was like, we're doing this, or this is going on, or what happened here? And she goes, oh, yeah, didn't your dad tell you? And he said, no. He said, you would tell me. He said, well, I thought your dad would tell you. I said, you'd think, but let's let this be a lesson. And for some reason, it wasn't. I mean, I was always the last. It was the joke. I was always the last to know family news or
That's
any
funny.
kind of stuff going on in Ashland.
But not anymore.
Not anymore.
All right.
Maybe.
It's been mostly fixed. So the night you were inducted into the Randolph-Macon Hall of Fame, what are your memories from that night?
Inaugural class, wasn't it?
No, it was. I think it had started 5 or 6 years before that.
Okay.
But only thing I can remember, one of the things I remember, and was that and I'm not much of a public speaker, that's for damn sure. But I said something like that I had done something, and somebody got after me and said, "Jack, you're gonna never get into heaven that way. You're acting that way." And my reply was, my close relationship with two saints, that I'm pretty much guaranteed entrance to heaven when I need it.
Two angels.
Two angels, and that was, I said
Right.
that would be my mother and my wife. So I can remember that, and then I don't know what else I said, but that's been a long time ago.
You and Shearer have been married how long?
We got married in '64.
So 58.
Yeah, but see, we were in first grade together. I got a picture at home, and of the whole first grade, and we went to Miss Ann Herndon's, which was like 3 houses up from the Henry Clay Elementary School, and it was a private first and second grade, and that's where we both went. With a picture of us sitting there on the front steps to take a class picture, and I'm sitting behind her, and we're both smiling, and somebody made a picture of that, and blanked everybody else out, and just had me behind Shearer on that. So I never dated anybody else but her, and because I went away to high school, and then I stayed home and went to college. She went away to Mary Baldwin, so we, corresponded and going back and forth and all that, and we got married the year I graduated.
So y'all have known each other 74 years, 75 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
only apart for, sounds like, what, 8 or 9 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you hear some people sometimes say, we never argue back and forth. And I said, well, then you don't have a normal marriage because we fuss at each other all the time. But it's never so bad that you can't make up and then go on and have and I think, we just blessed with the kids we got and the grandchildren.
And you're blessed with each other, too.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's part of it. I tell people all the time that I'd probably be in jail if it wasn't for my wife, because when it comes to doing taxes, getting all that stuff together, she does it, and I wouldn't. I just throw it all in a box and take it to the accountant and say, here, you figure it out.
Oh, man. Well, Jack, it's been great talking to you tonight. You've always been a big figure in Ashland, big figure at Randolph-Macon, and because your oldest son is a year older than me, and Andy's a year younger than me. I've always known about your family, and I've always had nothing but very positive thoughts about you guys. So I appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.